All right, high school football fans in the North Florida area, welcome to another edition of Overtime, the Scoreboard Show. We tried to get everything confirmed last night, but it got too late, so we decided to kick it off this afternoon. Let's go ahead and talk about, man, Coach. We got some major upsets from around the area, a lot of shockers. But let's go ahead and jump into it. The area playoff scores for round number one across all classifications in the North Florida area. Lincoln 21, they shut out Mainland 21 zip. And this Mainland team came in on a hot streak, and the Lincoln defense stepped up big and handled their business as the Trojans move on to round two with a resounding win over Mainland.
Yeah, I watched that game. It was uh, a Lincoln defense just totally dominated the game, and what the offense did just enough. They kicked, I think 3 or 4 field goals, and then they scored one touchdown and didn't make an extra point. But they totally dominated the game. It wasn't you never got the sense that Mainly would ever make a comeback, and it was it was kind of what you want as a coach. It was very a lot of running, a lot of I guess you could say it was kind of boring because the defense. When you see defenses, it's kind of boring. And as a coach, I know they loved it.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing for Lincoln is just watching the defense play because Mainland came in with a really potent ground game, and Lincoln on the defensive side they were just unfazed by anything that Mainland was doing. They weren't really shaken by the different looks they were seeing. Linebackers in Lincoln secondary played really well, and huge shout out to the Lincoln defensive front. That defensive front really established that you just can't run on us, and they didn't allow very much. Lincoln offense did exactly what they came in to do. They managed the game. They didn't turn the ball over. They did exactly what I felt like was running the game plan, which is managing the clock. And yeah, it wasn't fireworks, but to me it was exactly what you wanted for an opening first round win. Lincoln will still have a tough road ahead in Class 5A. But this is how you want to start, and I can't think of a better way than picking up a shutout. Moving on around the area, Florida High dominates Mariana. Another battle of the trenches where the Seminoles come out on top in a big way. Really were in control of the game throughout all four quarters, 28-7 over Mariana. So 10-0 Bulldogs fall to Florida High in the first round. And man, I know that there was a lot of emotion on the Mariana side trying to avenge last year's playoff loss. But man, Florida High, sometimes teams just got your number. And, when they've seen you enough times, I hate to say it like that, but, we've seen quite a few rematches in the playoffs just with particular teams in the area. And, Mariana has nothing to hang their heads about. They've had an amazing year. I just think that Florida High defensively has arguably seen a little bit better talent this year, and it just kind of showed. I think they keyed in on Amari Clemens and boxed him in quite a bit. And the Seminole offense, in my opinion, Seminoles have really improved offensively, spreading the ball around and getting making some opportunities for their playmakers in open space. And they did what they had to do, and they take it 28-7 over Mariana. But yeah, shout out to Mariana. They had a great season. Anytime you go undefeated, you've done something right. And I think the trajectory of their program looks bright. I look for the Seminoles and the Bulldogs to hook up this time next year. As far as where we see things headed, this is one of those where they took advantage of the talent that they had, and they made a great run of it. But Florida High will be moving on. Defensively, Florida High really is something special up front, and I think they've been able to really take down some of the top teams in the area over the last stretch of the back half of the season so far.
Florida has a very dangerous team in the playoffs. They used to be in there, every year they end the playoffs. They play some tough teams, and I think their season prepared them for the playoffs. I think when you face them, you got to understand they're gonna play solid defense, and then the offense gonna complement what you do on defense. So congratulations for moving on, and you beat a very good football team.
Yeah. I think one of the bigger things that you also have to take in consideration is the fact that a lot of what happens, especially when you have particular, and I would just say this: when you have a particular subset that you know where you're going to be exercising your strengths and playing to your strengths, it makes you feel like you can do a little bit more. And I think Florida High definitely showed that their defensive front is just kind of where this team is anchored around, and they've been able to do a lot against some really, really big time opponents. Let's move through some of these other scores real fast. Madison County all over Moorhaven, no surprise there, 51-13. Bluntstown handles the undefeated Auxiliary Christian Warriors 62-17. And again, shout out to Auxiliary Christian, had a great season, but they ran into a very good, talented Bluntstown team. Now let's jump into Gabi and Sewanee. Gabi Cougars really were in a back and forth game with Sewanee. Sewanee led at different points in the game, and I think we saw an exact mirror of what we saw earlier in the regular season. And Coach, I'm gonna let you talk about the ending of the game.
Oh
It was
man,
absolutely
oh
something.
man, I was sitting there watching. I'm rooting for the local schools, and I saw Gabi got the ball, I think, but under a minute, and drove it all the way down into Swanee territory, and it was like 11 seconds on the clock. I'm sorry, I don't know the kid's name, but they threw a little hitch pad on the, and man, he shook everybody and took it to the house as the clock ran out. Most exciting game of the night. I mean, it was. I'm not a Cougar grad, but I love to see stuff like that. I love to see a guy, and I feel sorry for Kyler Hall and Swanee. They played a great game. They in fact led late in the fourth quarter,
Yeah,
and Gabi came back. It was an exceptional. It may be the best game I've seen in a long time. Two
yeah.
teams evenly matched. One just one play better. Awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger things about this particular matchup, again, we saw an exact mirror of both teams going at it in the regular season. They just picked up where they left off. It was almost like quarters 5 through 8, just a continuation. And I think honestly, if you line these two teams up again, you're going to see another close ball game just with the talent level. Swanee ends their season just in a disappointing fashion. I know that stings for a little bit, but man, Swanee really showed how talented this team was going down the stretch. Gabi will be moving on to the second round with a 34-28 win over the Bulldogs. Dixie County handles Wewa Hitchcock 29-6 to take really to take a leap forward in the Rural Invitational Tournament. Gadsden County, no surprise here, handles Baldwin 48-7, and really just no contest there for the Jags as they'll be playing. They'll be hosting Florida High in the second round. So we'll preview that on the Extra Point podcast on Wednesday of next week. Trenton in a nail biter, back and forth game. Edges Sneeze 28-26, ending the Pirate season. And man, there were plenty of opportunities for Sneeze that just couldn't take advantage of it. Meanwhile, out in Jacksonville, Bowls all over Taylor County, 49-0. And Taylor County started with a bang. I think they suffered some injuries throughout the season. And just, you hate to kind of limp into the playoffs, and their placement in the playoffs really was not the best as they drew Bowls in the first round. And, it's tough to go on the road and play one of the top teams in the state like that. But, man, a great season for Jesse Braswell. I think he has a program on the right track. I'm looking forward to the trajectory of the program and seeing where they're going to be headed. I think big things are coming for the Bulldogs in years to come. And it's just an exceptional turnaround for them. Lafayette edges Cottondale 43-42.
You called it. You called that.
Upending the Hornets season. And really for Lafayette, I mean, man, they've been able to kind of, and I think their schedule really has helped them. They've played a lot of tougher teams in their area. And, going into Cottondale, I think they knew what they were going to face. And Cottondale jumped out to an early lead at some point in the game. And then Lafayette battled back and did not quit and edged Cottondale by 43-42 going away. And that's that's about all you can ask for a group of kids that really have, found their rhythm here in the second half. They've got a great quarterback and great wide receiver in Murphy, and I think they really, I think they're going to make some noise in the rural classification with that victory. Let's talk about this one as we round out the scores. Walton, a big winner over Pensacola
Wow.
Catholic, and man, talk about doing your homework and taking
Wow.
the test. You ever had one of those moments where you get a chance to take that test again? You flunked the first time. This is a prime example of what the Braves have been able to do, beating Pensacola Catholic at their own. On the road in a tough environment. I think they looked at that John Paul tape and took some notes.
Man, they
And so they
played.
were able to come out on top in that one in a big way.
Mark, I watched that game also, on my laptop, and I was watching it. Uh, uh, Catholic started off with a bang. They scored first, and then looked like Walton kind of caught their win, and they started moving the football. And it was one of those. It was another exceptional game. It was close. Uh, Catholic had a chance to go down and take the lead, couldn't do it. Defense stepped up for Walton, and then Walton got the ball and they kept it to the end of the game. And it was, everybody was going crazy. And I'm like, I'm sitting in shock because Catholic beat them up pretty bad the first time.
Yeah,
It
they
wasn't
did.
even a close game. And they come back in the same place and go back and whoop Catholic at their own place in the playoff, which is the only place that really counts.
Yeah. And it's really incredible to see how just the turnaround. Sometimes we talked about this. It's tough to beat a team twice during the season, and Walton really showed Pensacola Catholic like, hey, you might get us once, but you're definitely not getting us twice.
That's the scary
Um,
thing, Mark. You hate to play a team twice, especially a good team.
exactly.
Yeah.
Columbia falls on the road to St. Augustine, 28-0 in a shutout loss, ending the Tiger season. Wakulla, big winner over Menendez, 28-14. And watch out, the War Eagles, right where they want to be in the second round. I think this team really, they've taken their lumps during the season, but they have a lot of young talent that's getting some valuable experience right now. Anytime you can get a largely junior and sophomore class and they make the second round of the playoffs, that spells a lot of good things to come on the horizon for next year's team. But Wakulla still plenty of football left to play as they survive another week with a big home win over Menendez, 28-14. This one was a shocker. Fleming Island upsetting Mosley at where Mosley had a big first round home game, 35-28. And Mosley just really they never really seem to get going and jump out to what we normally see with them, which is a big lead in the first half or and kind of put on cruise control. And you kind of wonder if what we saw during the Florida High game kind of exposed some things with them because even with the week off before the playoffs started, you kind of wanted to be able to shore some of those things up. And I think Fleming Island really just kind of jumped out and took control of the game, and Mosley had to battle back, but it was not enough as they fall in an upset loss, 35-28, ending their season. Mosley was they in the year with the 9-2 record, they were inches away from being 10-0. And just you hate it for Coach Whitten and his crew, but man, a great season. Had a chance to get a big time win over their rival Niceville. So things are still bright for the Mosley Dolphins. You just hate to see them going out like this in the first round.
You're right, Mark. I was kind of surprised, but you never know in the playoffs. So teams, you got to bring your A game. You can't have a letdown. You got to play because everybody's coming to get you because it's one and done in the playoffs. It's no tomorrow. It's next year.
Yep. Mother scores from around the areas. We round out the first round. Reigns 53, Bay 14. That does it for Bay County in the playoffs as the Reigns Vikings up in the Bay Tornadoes, and really a tough draw for the Tornadoes in the first round. But Reigns, number one team in the region, or number two team in the region, if I'm not mistaken, dominated Bay 53-14. Pahokee all over Chipley, 42-0. And man, what a tough road environment to go into as Chipley had to make the trip all the way down to Lake Okeechobee to play Pahokee. And just a tough kind of aspect of the playoffs where you hate to see that much travel in the first round, but a tough loss for the Tigers. They in their season getting shut out by the Pahokee Blue Devils. Another shutout loss, Arnold also falls to Choctaw 49-0. The Marlins in their season with, lots of positives there as Coach Griffin's turned around the team that was winless the year before. So, lots of good things on the horizon for Arnold. But unfortunately, they will end this season with the playoff loss to Choctaw 49-0. And then Wildwood handles Hamilton 54-14, and that will do it for the first round. Congrats to the teams that are moving on, but man, you hate to see some of these guys turning in pads right now, but it's a sad part of the season. But we'll be ready to have all of this broken down on the Extra Point podcast on Wednesday night right here on Four Quarters Online. You can catch us on all our social media platforms. Coach, we got to hurry up and get to the stadium.
Yeah, we got a game today.
Yep. So that'll do it for the Extra Point, for the Overtime Scoreboard show. We'll catch everybody on the Extra